Far Cry.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to another of my video game movie reviews. I haven't done one of these for a while, and this is my series of reviews where I take a look at movies that are video game adaptations. And this one is the 2008 film Far Cry, based on the famous Ubisoft games. The film is directed by the legendary B-movie director Uwe Boll, and it stars Til Schweiger, Emmanuel Vaugier, Natalie Avalon, Udo Kier, Chris Coppola, Ralph Moeller, Craig Fairbrass, and Michael Paré. Right, okay. So this film focuses on there is an island where there is a mad scientist experimenting, trying to create super soldiers. Ralph Moeller plays a guy called Max Cardinal, who is the uncle of Emmanuel Vaugier's character, Valerie. She's like a reporter that's going to the island because she's been tipped off by her uncle that there's dodgy stuff going on there. The mad scientist is played by Udo Kier. So she charters a boat trip from Jack Carver, played by Til Schweiger, who takes her to the island, which then triggers a series of encounters, battles between Jack and the mercenaries and bad guys on the island in order for everybody to get out in one piece, so on and so forth. Right, what are my thoughts on Far Cry? Well, this was sent to me by my good friend Leo over at Geek Legion of Doom. Now, he has sent me a package of brilliant films that I'm going to showcase in a later video in a few days. But this is the first one that I've watched, and this is what he sent me. It is the Blu-ray. It's like, I've put it back in its thing. It's like a Blu-ray German import steelbook. Thank you very much for that, Leo. And he sent me like a variety of like found footage films and video game movie adaptations, all that kind of stuff. So got plenty to get stuck in the coming months for you guys to watch and review. So while I was aware of this film, I'd never seen it. And there's a few reasons for that. The obvious one is Uwe Boll, who is probably regarded as one of the worst directors of all time. Is done a constant conveyor belt of turds, really, when it comes to movies. I think most people would agree. But I mean, I haven't seen. I think this is possibly the first Uwe Boll film I've seen, because I've kind of avoided them. I had considered previously doing like a series of Uwe Boll reviews on the channel, Dumpster Fire reviews or whatever. I didn't really know how to do it, but a lot of his films have been like video game adaptations, so looks like many of them I'm going to be covering in this series of reviews, video game movie reviews. So is this a good film? What do you think? Not really, no. It's not very good. However, my understanding is that there was this had a budget of 30 million, and even though it only made about 1 million back, certainly in the cinemas, so it wasn't exactly what you would call a hit. But it's because it's budgeted at 30 million. It's kind of what you would expect a not very talented director who is given a 30 million budget. It's kind of what you would expect that film to look like, in a sense of there's lots of flashy explosions, there's boat chases, there's car chases, there's gun battles, all that kind of stuff, and some of it is adequately shot and choreographed, all that kind of stuff, to a decent level. This ain't John Wick stuff though, guys, let me just get that straight, because there's some really dodgy editing going on and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of what you would expect a $30 million budget to look like for a film like this. My understanding is he acquired the rights to Far Cry before the first game was released, and I believe the first game was released, I think it was 2004, the first Far Cry game. And the second one, I think, came out around 2008, so it was around the time this one came out. But he'd already acquired the rights to do a film adaptation before the first game was released, which was how he got to make this film. I'm sure if he went to Ubisoft these days and says, "Can I do another Far Cry film?" I think they'd probably, slam the door in his face. Not a chance. It wouldn't happen these days. But back in, the late 2000s or the mid 2000s, when he acquired the rights, the Far Cry games weren't really particularly known at all. In fact, they weren't known at all when he acquired the rights because the game hadn't been released yet. So that explains how he got his hands on this property, if you like. Has he done the game justice? Well, no, not really. I mean, you could only really say it's loosely based on the game. And if you haven't played a Far Cry game, essentially you kind of play like an anonymous character, because it's a first-person like adventure shooter. And most of the game, I mean, the only thing you could say really where they kind of fit is like most of the Far Cry games have like kind of set in like Mediterranean islands or that sort of thing. Certainly the first couple were, 2 or 3 anyway. So that's really the only similarities here. I mean, he doesn't even do like a first-person sequence to play homage to the game. I mean, even Doom did that. That was the best part of that film. When they did like, that first-person perspective when they're shooting everybody. You don't get that here at all. You just get a very middling, bog-standard, generic action film that is crammed full of the worst dialogue I think I've heard for a long, long time. And the humour is so bad. It's full of these attempts at humour in this film that are... Falling Flat doesn't do it justice, really. They're terrible. It's almost like, at times the director's like, "I know what'd be funny, guys. Say this, say this." So they do. And you can almost hear the tumbleweeds going across the set when they say it. But in his mind, he's thinking, "That's hilarious. I'm keeping that in." And then they introduce like the comedy sidekick Emilio, played by Chris Coppola. It's bizarre. And then you've got like these super soldiers experimented on. That was never part of the Far Cry games. So to say he's had creative license here, excuse me, I'm going to cough, still got this chesty thing, is absolutely not an understatement. He's kind of done his own thing, really, and it is basically so loosely based on the games that you would struggle to call it Far Cry, really. So yeah, terrible script, terrible dialogue, pretty poor action, but it's poor action that has had a lot of money spent on it, if you like. Certainly for this film, 30 million at the time for a film like this was a lot of money, which also explains how there's so many recognisable actors in this film and in many of his films. I do not know, and I do not understand how he managed to blag his budgets. Uwe Boll. I mean, I don't. If you look at his back catalogue, many of his films have got very recognisable actors in them. So he must have had a budget. He must have blown at least half his budget on the actors that he cast, and the rest of it on explosions, because certainly he didn't pay for a good script. That's for damn sure. So yeah, this isn't good, guys, but there is some B-movie charm here, I suppose. It's not offensively bad. It's just not good either at the same time, but it exists. Will we ever get like a proper Far Cry adaptation? I don't know. I don't even know if we should, to be honest. I mean, because the Far Cry games I don't necessarily think would translate well to a film anyway. They're just first-person adventures, really, shooters, where you just charge across an island killing baddies. I don't know if it would work anyway, but he attempted it and it didn't work. So there you go, guys. So thanks for watching. I hope you'd like this video game adaptation review. I've got a few more sent to me by Leo, so there will be some more coming up in the coming week/months. So stay tuned, and thank you very much, as always, guys, for watching.